And we're live. This is Guy, and my co-host this week is gonna be Dean. This is Sunday Funday Show, Week 8. Dean, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing today?
All right, Dean. Since this is your first time on the podcast with me, I want you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, my name is Dean, also known as Joe Buck Yourself, or fucking Dean to everyone in the league, pretty much.
Fucking Dean.
Uh, yeah.
What are your hobbies and what's your life like?
Hobbies. Anything outdoors, pretty much. Football. At least we used to do football a lot.
Yeah, and then I
And now I
moved.
just work a lot. I work for a pool company, doing installing pumps and stuff. Basically everything for a pool, but resurfacing it.
You have a lot of different jobs, Dean. Every time I talk to you, it seems like you're working something new.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
It's
So
all
yeah,
right.
what was I? I was started at the hospital. Then I moved. Then I was working for the Redskins at one point.
We're working
And
for the
then
Redskins.
yeah, I was a bar back at FedEx Field, and I was also equipment
Oh, that's cool.
for yeah, nothing crazy. Now I'm doing solar and anything for a pool, basically.
That's awesome. Everybody, meet Dean. Hope now you guys know a little bit more about the man. Let's go on to some fantasy football talk. Let's talk about the power rankings.
All right.
So, Chalupa Batman finally took the number one place, and House of Priapism dropped to number two. Any surprises there?
Not really. Kim has a pretty strong team, and she's been surprised it took her that long to get in there. But the house is pretty strong. To be honest, I think there was two number ones. They would both get it.
Really close. And what surprises me a lot is that Dylan's at number three, and he has a very strong team, and he's actually very close to House of Priapism and Chalupa Batman in points scored. His team is pretty strong.
Yeah, they just can't produce, and he doesn't have that one guy that can go off for 40 points.
Maybe David Johnson's going to be that guy now that they're changing things up in Arizona.
Yeah, let's hope he can complement Mahomes on his team.
We have Martial Law, Breaker Chains, just flip flopping there. They're that second tier of teams when it comes to points scored. And then I'm dropping like a brick. Montana Muscaloaders passed me. That's depressing. Um,
I'm next, so watch out.
and Stumtavius and Roboclick and yourself over there at the bottom.
Hmm.
Nothing too big about the power rankings, but it's kind of shaping up. We have a lot of data now to show how much points teams score and how consistent they are, and the power rankings are starting to reflect that.
Indeed.
So let's go ahead and go to our next conversation, which is Rob brought up a good thing in the group chat the other day. He's talking about how Holden had four quarterbacks on his team. I can only think of three that he had. He had Jared Goff, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan, and they're all top quarterbacks in the league. Um, and he couldn't trade it to anyone. He had Cousins, right?
Hmm.
Kirk
Yeah,
Cousins.
that's right. He did have cousins. I think
Yeah, so
he.
yeah, he did have, and he
Yeah.
actually did end up trading Kirk Cousins to somebody. So I guess somebody did buy his shit. But um, the other stuff, nobody was buying his shit. All these quarterbacks, you think somebody would want a quarterback? Dean, why do you think nobody wants to buy Holden's quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, Holden's someone that has like three core quarterbacks. He's trying to get some trade value. Everyone knows Holden wants to trade, but then you look at someone like Martial Law, who has one quarterback, and then next this week he'll easily get up Trubisky for right off the waivers, and who's been going off. Plus, I think with that extra slot that Dylan added with the wide receiver, you don't really need that boost in points. You can get it easily from a wide receiver.
My big thing is I think these quarterbacks are just very similar in scoring. If you look at all the quarterbacks and how many points they're scored, the best guy is Patrick Mahomes, and he's averaging 29 points per game.
Mhm.
But you can go out to the bottom of the list. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just go Joe Flacco. Very near the bottom in points scored. He's 19.8, so there's a 10-point per game difference between the best guy and just a guy that you can get everyday production out of. Your Joe Flacco's, Andy Dalton's, stuff like
Right.
that. So the 10-point per game is a very big deal, but that's like looking at the Joe Smo and his average. But like even Joe Flacco can have his 20-point games, see his 25-point games. Here, if you just pick the right matchups of these players playing against the right teams, you can get close to top production out of these guys week in and week out.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, and that goes back to the wide receivers because I think the wide receivers more out commodity and along with the running backs because there's more of a point difference between a 20-point, 25-point game and then you have the 9 to 10 to 4-point for a bottom tier running back.
correct. Um, so you can see why quarterbacks just aren't that important anymore. Which brings us to our crazy league ideas. Let's talk about quarterbacks and how can we make quarterbacks more important. Do you have any ideas, Dean?
Well, I know we were talking a little bit before the show started, but I think we should either get rid of the tight end position and put a super flex in, or maybe put like one of your ideas that you were saying with the kicker and then put the super flex there. Because then I think quarterbacks will start going higher because then you have Mahomes would go higher next year, and then you can also put in, let's say, Drew Brees also. So you're going to have two top tier quarterbacks on the same team, and then Holden with his four QBs would be more better than, let's say, a tight end like I have Trey Burton on my team. So if that is super flex there, I would trade Holden for Drew Brees or Jared Goff, but he could also play Drew Brees and Jared Goff on the same week.
Correct. And that's the thing is there are two things that comes to balancing, and that's how many points an individual scores, and that comes down to the actual scoring format of the league. And then it comes down to position scarcity, and that comes into what you were talking about is how the league has itself set up on how many people you can start and how many people you can come on your bench. Now the thing is with quarterbacks, especially when you're playing in a short bench league like we are,
Right.
um, it's kind of hard to hang on to multiple quarterbacks because when injuries and bye weeks, you need those running backs and wide receivers on your bench to make up for those bye weeks and those injuries. So you kind of end up dropping quarterbacks. So like right now, we have Andrew Luck and we have Mitch Trubisky, like all of these good quarterbacks, like that are going to be able to come in on anyone's team and perform. I mean, Blake Bortles has been known to have good games. He's on the bye week. Eli Manning just had a 25-point game. Like all of these quarterbacks that you can just pick up off the waiver and plug them into your lineup if you need to. It makes the top quarterbacks not as important. And you
Exactly.
mentioned Superflex. Dean, explain to the people what Superflex is.
So super flex. So let's say we kept our same kind of roster and got rid of the not got rid of the tight end, but still the super
Don't
flex.
don't talk about getting rid about anybody. Just talk about
Okay.
Superflex. Superflex.
Let's talk about it.
Yep.
So super flex, you can either put a QB, running back, wide receiver, tight end, basically any kind of skilled position, if you would, and quarterback, which is now beginning to be like a skill position with Patrick Mahomes and Dak Prescott and all that. So those people you can plug any one of those in, which makes it much more challenging on us as fantasy players, but more optimal for points.
Right. So what a Superflex is, like you said, you can put any position in on the Superflex, meaning you can put quarterbacks in. If you have a chance to put a quarterback in there, you put a quarterback in there because quarterbacks are just almost always going to score near 20 points or 15 points. They're very consistent, and it's very hard to get like you get normal wide receivers to put up over 20 points all the time, like the top wide receivers. But if you're already starting three wide receivers on your team and you have a flex spot, and then so if you're looking at the fourth or fifth wide receiver option in your team, they're most likely not going to be put up anywhere near quarterback numbers. They're not going to be consistent at it. So a super flex league is kind of like you're allowed to have two quarterbacks on your team, and you can start them both. And if you don't have two quarterbacks, you can put somebody in from a regular wide receiver, running back, or something in there, like you were talking about,
Mhm.
to make up for the fact that you can't play two quarterbacks that league. But what that ends up happening to the league is, now that you can play two quarterbacks on your team, people will have two or three or four quarterbacks in their roster,
Mhm.
which means every single starting quarterback in the NFL will be in a fantasy roster on our league, meaning you can't pick up a quarterback off of waiver wires. Now, every quarterback's individual value is actually truly represented because you just can't pick up a guy off of the waivers to replace your quarterback production. So now quarterbacks actually will have value if you do something
Mhm.
like a super flex.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to add about that?
To the Superflex or to it overall?
And overall, any other ideas?
If, like for the league or
Yeah, for the league in general.
well, I think if we do the Superflex, which I think it would be fantastic for the league, and I think it would be cause more trading throughout the league. Of course, we would need a bigger bench, which I think would create, like I said, more turnover. Like you said, Holden's just sitting on four quarterbacks. He could easily sell one of those quarterbacks, and I
So
think
yeah,
he'd
make some
keep on.
trades.
Yeah, I think it would be more of a rotating through. Um, what am I trying to call it? Players instead of having one person on your team. Either I could get rid of Stephon Diggs, maybe even worth. And if someone needed a wide receiver, I can easily get a quarterback. I put him in my super flex.
Yeah, it's
It'd be more valuable. The quarterback's way more valuable. Like with Stephon Diggs, why do I need a quarterback when I just need one of them until
right,
week 11 or week 10?
right, exactly. And I think Superflex is an interesting idea, and we can definitely talk about
Mm-hmm.
it when we go in and talk about voting for next week. A lot of people are kind of sketchy about starting two quarterbacks, but the truth is, in today's fantasy football, like, the quarterback position just isn't that important anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of interesting to just talk about ideas how to make quarterbacks more important. Superflex definitely does. So let's go look over here to our league now and look at the standings. And we have 5 teams that are 4-3. And we have Chalupa Batman at the top of the Marvin division and House of Priapism at the top of Whoreface.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have yourself and Sumtavius Roboclick
Mm-hmm.
at 2-5. Is it possible for you guys to make the playoffs?
It's possible. Slim, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
No, yeah, no, yeah, most definitely.
Uh,
It is very possible for you guys to still make the playoffs even at 2-5. I mean,
yeah. I
let,
mean, let's say if you look at my schedule, um, I'll verse you this week, and then I will need to win two or three more games, and then that's about it. And then I'll be right there in the mix of everyone, or even for Alejandro or RoboClick to do the same thing. He just needs to win two or three, and we're back in the middle of everyone. And it's only 6 people need to go, so it could be 3 from one division, 3 from the other, 4 from one, and 2 from another.
I mean, it's especially you right now, right? With you're playing against several 4-3 teams. If
Yeah, I have
let's say
basically all
Chalupa
14.
Batman and House of Priapism won the divisions,
Yeah,
correct? And they make their bye weeks. There are 4 more playoff spots and 5 4-3 teams. Um,
hmm
if you can replace 2 of those 4-3 teams, like if say 2 of these 4-3 teams start playing poorly, like say myself, I have been playing poorly. Kyle Daly, his production has definitely dropped off of the breaker chains.
hmm
Um, Montana Musculoters has not had the greatest production either. Any of these 3, or even Martial Law can go bad too, and you're right in there. If 2 of those teams come out and you end up beating these teams in your matchups, which you are playing us in
yeah.
these coming weeks, you are right in there. Let's
It
see.
happened last year.
It did. And
I started 0-4, and then I was mid-table by the end of the season.
Stumtavius Roboclick is the same thing. He's got the bonus of the fact that he's going up against Holden 2 weeks from now, so he gets a free win right there. With the win that you just got for free last week.
Exactly.
So he's gonna come up on it, and it's gonna help his team and his record a good bit in order for him to make the playoffs. I honestly do think it's possible for either of you to still make the playoffs.
Oh, for sure. It's not hard at all, especially with the way the waivers are working right now. And my favor, at least, I picked up a couple that I was surprised, but I've also dropped a couple that I'm not too proud of.
And
But I mean, like I have, let's see, one, two, three, four, including you, 4 and 3 teams to go,
yep.
and then I have Alejandro right in the middle of the schedule, and then I have Chalupa Batman, which might be a break it or make it game for me at the last game of the season.
Oh, that's a rough last game of the season, Chalupa Batman. That's
it
a
is.
rough. And over here on the playoff odds, it has you at 9% chance to make the playoffs, and Stumtavius a 6% chance to make the playoffs. But I honestly don't think it's that bad. I think this might be undercutting you guys a little bit. I think you might have a better chance than that.
I hope so. I hope you're right. Only time will tell. This next week's going to be big for at least me and Alejandro, because if Alejandro gets the week this week, meaning Septavius, if he gets the week this week, and then he gets Holden, that's 2 wins in a row. He's back to 4 and 5.
Yeah, Septavius is going up against my dad owns a dealership, another strong 4-3 team this week too. So if he actually did manage to win that game, that would be really big for him.
It would. And if he lost and then Dylan loses his next game, then he's right out of it.
So let's talk about these 4-3 teams that we can keep bringing up. We got the Breakers or Chains, Montana Muskeloaders, Captain McGee, my dad owns a dealership, and Martial Law. Those are our 5 4-3 teams. Let's rank them.
Okay. Do you want to do the honors and go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay.
So we have all these 4-3 teams. They're all very close to each other. I am going to rank myself number 1.
Okay, so you're ranking yourself first.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah, I'm a little bit egotistical. What can I say? So, my team has started off pretty rough. David Johnson wasn't doing so hot for me. He was supposed to be my anchor. I managed to trade him away for Odell Beckham. So that strengthened my wide receiver core. Now, listen to this wide receiver score. Odell Beckham, Mike Evans, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
That's good. That's a really good.
Jameis Winston can throw the ball. He'd be good.
But he always throws the ball to Mike Evans. Mike Evans will be fine.
If it gets there.
And we're talking shit about Jameis Winston, but he's produced 30 points in the games that he has started. He's produced 32 points and 22 points in an offense that has to absolutely throw the ball because they can't run. So we're expecting at least 300 yards in the air almost every single week from Jameis Winston. And if he has a rough matchup, like we said, quarterbacks aren't that important. You can come back in there, get one from the waiver wire. Lamar Miller and Marlon Mack. Lamar Miller was hurt. He wasn't playing at his best. He's come back around. Marlon Mack was also hurt, and now he's starting, and he's beast moding it. My running backs will be fine. My wide receivers are great.
You do have to start Mack, though, in order for him to do well.
Using my starting lineup against you.
Okay.
So yeah, I know it's kind of egotistical of myself to say I have the best 4-3 team, considering the fact that I don't have the most points scored as the 4-3 team, and the power rankings do not have me as a good rest of season schedule. I really don't believe that at all. I think my team is very strong coming on. Second, I got my dad owns a dealership. He's got Patrick Mahomes who's on fire. Alvin Kamara started slowing down a little bit. This is why I don't have him as high anymore, because Alvin Kamara is not putting up the 30 points per game like he was before.
Okay.
Like I said before, David Johnson's got new coaches. He'll probably see more work in the passing game. We'll see David Johnson come out and score a lot more points. And then when you have Adam Thielen, the best wide receiver in fantasy football right now,
Or in general,
maybe.
dude's
And,
beastin'.
dude's so good. And Josh Gordon is coming in, and he's probably going to get more 100-yard games just like he had last week. George Kittle is pretty good. I think my dad owns a dealership, and my team are both very evenly matched in talent at the moment. And I think he's right there.
Gotcha.
And then I got Martial Law coming in afterwards. Again, strong quarterback play. He's got good running backs of James Conner, Le'Veon Bell when Le'Veon Bell comes back, Philip Lindsay, and then his wide receivers are pretty good too with A.J. Green, Michael Thomas. And then he can choose between Brandon Cooks or Jarvis Landry or start them both every week. It's a very good team. And then this is when I feel like it starts breaking out a little bit. Breaker Chains had to trade a lot for Kirk Cousins. And Sonny Michel unfortunately got hurt. Joe Mixon's not playing like he was at the start of the season. And his wide receivers just frankly aren't that strong. Emmanuel Sanders is pretty good, but Alshon Jeffrey is coming on good. So Emmanuel Sanders and Alshon Jeffrey are good, but I don't really feel too strongly about the rest of this team. Nick Chubb is probably pretty good. And Rob Gronkowski has been hurt. That was the guy that was supposed to be really good, but Rob Gronkowski has been hurt. And then we got Montana Muskeloaders. I honestly think this is the weakest 4-3 team by far. And the only real strong point on this team is Robert Woods and Kareem Hunt. Like, Kareem Hunt is a beast, and Robert Woods plays on the Rams. But the rest of this team looks really weak. I mean, Antonio Brown hasn't been playing like his normal self either. You know?
Yeah.
Is this even the team for Antonio Brown? No, it's the team of Julio Jones. My apologies.
Yeah. Alex has he's the one that drafted him first.
Julio Jones is not catching touchdowns. I mean, he's getting yards every season, every year, every week, and he's consistent, but he's just not catching touchdowns. So it's hurting him big time.
Oh yeah.
What about you? What's your rankings?
Mine's similar but not similar. So first I have Martial Law at number 1.
Okay.
He looks the strongest, meaning strength-wise and depth-wise. I'll just go real quick. It's nothing really too fancy about my rankings, since I'm not in them. I have Dylan, number 2. I think he's a little bit better than you, only because his depth on the bench. You don't really have a bench on your team.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so I think the waiver, hopefully the waiver will be kind to you. You never know. And I have you at close number 3 for Captain McGee. And I have the same teams that are last, Breaker, Chains, and Montana. Like I said, the only thing holding Montana together right now is Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, that's rough about Montana, like how you were saying. I honestly believe that you have a better roster than he has because of you started off so poorly. You've had the chance to pick up guys from the waiver wire and make your team better. That I think you honestly, if there's a team you're going to pass up, one of these 4-3 teams that you are going to pass up, I think it's going to be Montana Muskeloaders. I do think you have a better roster than he does.
Yeah, I think I just have to get on the right week. Like I said, if Kareem Hunt goes off for 40 like he did, then you never know what could happen.
Right.
Like I said, I don't have that one guy that can go off for 40 or 50 for me.
Right.
Maybe Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp was the guy that going 20 for 30, but he's injured now.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins was supposed to be your big bell cow, and he's doing all right. He's just not having just giant games all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I'm averaging around either 15 and up with everyone except for obviously my kickers.
Yeah, but Kerryon Johnson's looking pretty good too. Maybe these running backs
20-something point game
can drag you. So let's look back at the games that happened last week.
Okay.
Let's just do a quick recap of what happened. Chalupa Batman totally kicked my ass. Let's not even go about it. I played the wrong players, and it wouldn't even have mattered. She outscored everyone this week with 185 points. Team is absolutely amazing. Todd Gurley is a monster. There's nothing more we can say about that. That is just gross.
Should have went first in the draft. Should have.
Should have. What the fuck were you thinking, Alex? um, Joe Buck and Holden. We don't need to talk about that.
Holden's a free win.
Yeah, free win for everybody who
Even
plays
though I
him.
do need Holden to step up if I'm going to get to the playoffs. Let's go, Holden.
Can you imagine if Holden just starts beating people now after and just starts getting wins and knocking out these 4-3 teams, giving them a loss? That'd be so big.
I need him to. It's going to be big for me if he starts winning.
That'd be really good. And then
Just 2 games, Holden. That's all I ask.
we had my dad owns a dealership against Montana Musculoaders. I thought this was pretty cut and dry. Like I said, my dad owns a dealership on a really strong team. I don't think Montana Musculoaders that strong. He did score more than I thought he would, but my dad owns a dealership wins. Had House of Priapism against Breaker of Chains. House of Priapism is another extremely strong team, 160 points, gets the W. And then Martial Law versus some Tabius Roboclick. No surprise there, Martial Law takes the W. Anything that caught you off guard last week?
Not really. Everything was. I think the closest game was kind of like surprise to me, which was my dad and Montana, which is Ariel and Dylan.
Right.
That was probably the closest thing, but that's like I said, Kareem Hunt scoring 40-something points last week.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, like 41, and then Cam Newton went off for almost 30.
Dylan was sweating it out on the group chat, and when we were doing our draft on the Madden game, he was just like, "I can't believe Kareem Hunt is going off." Like, he was mad.
Every single time you looked back, he was just going off for another 20-yard game.
Yep.
Like,
let's look forward to this week.
Okay.
You and I are playing against each other.
We are.
And we're talking about what you have to do to make the playoffs. You have to beat me this week. You absolutely have to. That would be...
You make my life easier.
Yep, you would knock one of the 4-3 teams down to 4-4 and get yourself a W, get yourself closer. Exactly. And project the scores, have us very close to each other, though I don't have a kicker in there yet. Or am I missing anyone?
Either. I don't have a kicker.
You don't have a kicker, and I don't have a tight end. That's
so
what it
pretty
is.
much even.
Pretty much even. We're right there. This could be the game of the week, but I don't know. Who do you think wins it between the two of us?
It's going to be close. I have to say that. Just because I have to get this win, I want to say me by 0.05 points.
You by 0.05 points. Calling you real close. I think my players will outscore their projections, and I'll get the win here.
I just need my wide receivers to step up, unlike they did.
Let's look at the next game. We got Montana Musculoaders versus House of Priapism.
Okay.
I just think it's almost impossible to go against the House. I know he doesn't have a quarterback right now because Phillip Rivers on bye week, but that's just a quarterback. He'll find somebody. Melvin Gordon's on bye, but it's okay. He'll make do. He'll make do. He's got plenty of depth, and it's so hard to go against this team, to be honest.
Yeah, it's impossible. I mean, just Saquon can just get half his points.
Yeah.
No, he's on. Oh yeah, he's playing. I don't know. It's gonna be. I think he'll get it. It's gonna be close because Melvin Gordon's obviously out.
Yeah, the only thing that's going against them is Melvin Gordon and Phillip Rivers. Austin Eckler, they're all out. But if you look on the other side, doesn't have Julio Jones, doesn't have Calvin Ridley, or Montana Musculoaders, doesn't have them. So all he's got going for him really is, like we said, Kareem Hunt and Robert Woods. It's just so hard. I don't think he's gonna be able to beat the House of Priapism. I'm gonna say the House wins.
I would agree. I mean, instead of 160, you'll probably get 150, 70.
This is my real
Still
game
win.
of the week right here. Is Martial Law versus Chalupa Batman.
Agreed.
This is real close. The bye weeks aren't that important. I mean, Chalupa is missing Keenan Allen, but she's got the depth. She'll be able to do it. She's going to plug Devontae Adams right in there, and I think Chalupa Batman will win. What do you think?
I'm thinking Marston Law. He has a real good. All he needs is a quarterback. Like we said earlier, quarterbacks aren't that big of a deal. He can easily have a get like a Set Trubisky off the waiver wires and still go for 20, 30 points.
Yeah. It is close, but I find it so hard to go against Chalupa. Her team has been so strong. I thought she was going to have a down week last week, and she put up 185 points. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Robert's on the up and up after getting all my players off the waiver wires.
So you think Robert takes down Chalupa Batman with the big upset of the week, and
I
then
think he does.
my dad owns a dealership versus Octavius. I think I'm going to take my dad owns a dealership here. Easy peasy
I
for
have
me.
to agree.
Easy
Yep.
peasy. And then last game, Breaker Chains versus Holden. Uh,
Well, it's Holden.
it's Holden. There's nothing
But I
more to
need
talk
Holden to
about.
win. I'm taking Kyle on this one, but come on, Holden.
So, what are your hot takes for this week?
Hot takes this week. I don't know. I think I go up to mid-table. Let's go for it.
My hot take is Holden scores 120 points and almost. Hey, that's a hot take, okay? Holden scoring 120. 120.
Oh, 120. So he scores over 100. That's just a hot
Yeah,
take.
yeah. Holden will score 120 points this week and almost beat the Breaker Chains, but not beat them. That's
a hot take.
That's a spicy meatball right there. Alrighty, thank you so much for everybody who's listening. Have a good night.